Okay, one. How many heard me on Jeff's show for the first time? First time. Okay. I want to talk a lot on this one about diabetes because it's just becoming so epidemic. You know, like I said on the show, 30% of Americans pre-diabetic, and they're having billboards in Houston now. Billboards saying that. I don't know who's paying for it, but billboards. If you're diabetic, you have 2 to 4 times the risk of heart disease. You're going to get dementia because that's an arterial problem too. And cancer goes up. It's tied to higher blood sugars too. So never mind the foot ulcers you get, the neuropathy, the retinopathy. Horrible disease. My wife's type 1. You don't want it. Now they have a sensor that lasts for 14 days so you can at least get the blood glucose measurement without pricking yourself, 6 times a day or whatever the hell you do. So that's better. You don't have to do that anymore. But you're always playing catch up because you're guessing how many carbs are in the food and you're taking insulin. So you're always going to go too high, too low, and your body does not want that at all. So it's a very, very tough disease. Easy to not become diabetic. It's a created disease. There was no type 2 diabetes pre-1940, and there was essentially no type 1s either. It was an academic thing. There was, 1 in 10,000 people were type 1s. So when Banting came up with this, it wasn't to solve a problem for lots of people. It was just to figure out what's doing it. He had no idea what was coming. I mean, it is the biggest epidemic in the world now, worldwide. So how many people have read 24-Hour Diet? If you haven't, I hope you'll get this book. It is paramount. You get the medical quotes from the medical textbooks, textbook of medical physiology, basic medical biochemistry, that kind of stuff. So you see where it's coming from. I'm not making it up, and you'll see it yourself. The doctors, I assure you, don't remember this or don't know it. You're not going to get it anywhere. Your nutritionist won't have a clue. My joke with the nutritionists is they're not qualified to talk about nutrition because it's all politicized. It's all politicized, and they understand nothing. Absolutely nothing. So carbohydrates are sugar in disguise. Doesn't matter if it's a teaspoon of granulated sugar, brown organic rice, a bagel, a pizza, a soda, ice cream. It's all the same. Only difference is if it's complex, like a baked potato, that's why you got to bake it, it goes to the glucose in the bloodstream 15 minutes later. And the curve's in the book, so you can see it yourself. I'm not making that up. They act like high glycemic foods or low glycemic foods are better, right? You've all seen that garbage. 15-minute difference, same amount of sugar. It's the amount of sugar you care about. It's called the load, not the time. It's the area under the curve, that's it, period. And, which makes it worse, the resting blood sugars on a low glycemic food are actually higher than a high glycemic one. So if I have a Coke, insulin comes out, nails it, we're done. With the baked potato, insulin's slower. It's actually worse. I'd rather see you have the Coke. As stupid as that may sound to you. Everything we're told is wrong. There's less than 1 teaspoon of sugar in the bloodstream. Got 5 quarts of blood, less than 1 teaspoon of sugar. You know how many teaspoons of sugar the average American eats a day? Close to 100. Close to 100. So the question is, where's those other 99 go? Well, right to stored body fat. And this is where the exercise thing came from. The only way you get rid of that glucose in the bloodstream is by exercising your tail off. Problem is you can't exercise enough. This is why the government's even given up. They had the 10,000 steps a day program, running in the park, walking in the park, did nothing. You can't burn enough fat compared to what fat you're producing from eating it because you don't start fat burning right away. That's what's missed. You burn glycogen, that's stored liver, and it's not fat. It's only after you go through the glycogen you start hitting the fat, and that's why you can never burn up what you're creating. It's not one-to-one. I talk about it in the book. It's right out of the textbook of medical physiology. It's not just about burning up the calories. And that's what they'll do. There's 400 and whatever number of calories in a pound of fat, 900 or whatever it is, and you just run an hour, you're going to burn up 900 calories of fat. No, you don't, because it doesn't start fat burning right away. So there's always something you're misled about. You're never told the whole story. You burn double the amount of fat compared with sugar. There's more sugar in the bloodstream, but you're not burning it up. You're burning double the amount of fat. So anybody telling you sugar is the body's preferred energy source needs to go back to physiology school. It's not at all. But Brian, the brain runs on sugar. That's what you're told. It's overdosed on sugar and it's forced to run on sugar. That's why you can't think straight half the time. It's supposed to be running on fat. And when you start restricting that sugar, it runs on fat. That's the ketogenic diet, right? And way clearer. No brain fog, or I don't even know what it is. I mean, I've taken these oils for the past, how many years? 20 plus. I don't know what that term means. I mean, I understand from people that talk to me, they can't think clearly, they can't think. It's got to be horrible. Does anybody here have what's called brain fog, or you can't think straight? Take these oils, it'll fix it. But that's what happens with the carbohydrate overdose. Carbohydrates also in the bloodstream auto-oxidize, so they clog the artery. You don't want that. You do not want clogged arteries. Bad. You think you can exercise it away. You can't. There was an article that came out. There's so many of them. I talked on the radio about a few of them. But there was one with a guy that was exercising his tail off. I mean, I don't need it. A marathon runner, living in the gym, bicycling with the aerobics, about 70 miles equivalent on a stationary bike a week. Massive heart attack. Almost died. And was absolutely shocked. But my comment is, how can you exercise away nutritional deficiency? So I'm going to talk a lot about the parent essential oils, PEOs I call them. The reason you need them is because you're either not getting the omega-3 side, the parent form, or you're getting adulterated, processed omega-6 side, and that's a poison. And I'll talk a lot about what the big deal is with those. But carbohydrates, there's no RDA, which means there's no minimum daily requirement, because the minimum daily requirement of carbs is 0. 0. Body does not need any carbs. I'm not telling you not to eat any. You can't go to 0 if your life depended on it, because they're in almost everything to some extent. But you don't need them. They don't make you feel good. You get this garbage they had 10 years ago. You get happy eating carbs. No, you don't. You get sick. 1 teaspoon of sugar in the bloodstream, easy to eat 20 at a clip. And what happens as a response to that? Well, my body wants 1 teaspoon. Insulin gets shoved out. My heart starts going boom, boom, boom. Just do it. Anybody here eat a hot fudge sundae or half a pizza and 20 minutes later you feel sick? You all feel sick. I'm no different than anybody. We're all the same. You're not meant to be doing it. People can get used to doing it. I used to wolf down a pizza twice a week, 10 o'clock at night. I'm getting a reward, if you want to call that a reward. And then you get up at 4 in the morning, quart and a half of water, and you feel like a stone is in your stomach or a brick. Every ounce of carbohydrates, you need 3 ounces of water. So if you want to carry around a lot of water and be bloated 24 hours a day, keep eating the carbs. And it doesn't matter what they are. So the brown organic rice, steel cut oatmeal, it doesn't matter. The only difference is fruit. And I only learned this a few years ago. Can't be dried fruit, because that's concentrated sugar, or it can't be pineapple or bananas. They're bananas mush. It's highly going to raise your blood sugar. But almost anything else, like pears, peaches, strawberry, watermelon, cantaloupe, have a quarter to a half of the amount of blood sugar rise from glucose that the candy bar would have, that the pizza would have, that the bread would have, that the oatmeal would have. There's a difference in fruit. Now, I did this test on my wife because Dr. Rowan told me to do it, so I gave her 10 ounces of peaches, and it should have raised her blood sugar 150 points, and it raised it 15. So, I mean, I was just dumbfounded. Where the heck did the other 135 points go? Because it's there. It's not disappeared. It's there. You can get this stuff on food charts from the government. It's easy to measure it. So what do? You do it the second day. I had to scrub something, basically the same number. So I sent the food off to the lab, what's the difference in this? I gave her different fruits, and it was pretty much the same thing. So it's 1/4 to 1/2 of the blood glucose rise compared to anything else. Candy, cake, soda, whatever the heck you want. So fruit is nature's candy. We do have a sweet tooth. We're meant to have that. So I talk about in the book, protein powder fruit smoothie. This is the answer to any diabetic reversing it or minimizing the amount of insulin they need. Because your sweet tooth will be satisfied. You can have 10 ounces in there. And believe me, after you have that and you fill it up with water, you have almost a quart. So your stomach is going to be stuffed. You get the sweet tooth from the fruit, and you wake up in the morning, it's a water diet. You're not thirsty. You'll have no water weight at all like you would with the pizza. It's beyond belief. And you'll be full. And it's the biggest discovery in the world for diabetics, and no endocrinologist knows this that I've talked to. They don't know this. But it's in the book, tells you exactly what I do. I freeze the fruit, so it's superb. So carbohydrates, we've been told by our government, by our doctors, to make them the basis of the diet, right? Came out from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, heavy in the 70s, and they caused directly the diabetes epidemic. So what's happening is we're eating all these carbs. Then your nutritionist comes and says eat small meals a day, like 6. Pancreas is designed to produce insulin twice a day. It doesn't store a lot of it. So you eat a pile of carbs, boom, it goes out. Then it has to make starting new one. Body's thinking it's going to maybe wait another 12 hours. No, you come by in 3 because your nutritionist told you to do this. Boom, and now it's got none. And then you come in 3 hours again, and it's going to hit it again. And you're just pounding it. The next thing is the parent essential oils aren't in the cell membrane, so the insulin that does get produced by the pancreas can't work effectively because the cell membrane is like a piece of plastic, so it says go in there, and your cells are going no. And that's insulin resistance. So the first thing is the carbohydrates are horrible. So they auto-oxidize in the bloodstream and build up in the artery. So you're going to get a heart attack sooner or later. Diabetics have 2 to 4 times more heart disease. They have retinopathy, they have neuropathy, they have ulcers because they can't feel their feet. It's a horrible disease. You don't want to get it. You're going to end up getting dementia early. It's just a horrible disease, and it's completely preventable. So I hope everybody will get a 24-hour diet and learn this science for yourself because, like I said, your nutritionist won't know it, your doctor won't know it. Nobody will know it, and you need to know it yourself. That way you won't need them anymore. When it comes to what the heck do I eat? And if anybody goes, I don't know what to eat, we can put a man on the moon. You can look at what's in an atom. You can do theoretical physics, but I can't tell you what the hell you need to eat. Do you know how insulting that should make anybody with half a brain feel? We don't know. We need another study. No, it's called physiology and biochemistry. It's knowing exactly what you eat. Number one, you look at the science. Number two, you can measure it. You can eat something and measure what's in the blood. They did this in '88 and found a high-carb diet was hellacious compared to fat and protein. Of course, nobody wanted to hear it. This is the problem today. Journal articles are an end in themselves, so people only care about publishing. Whether it's right, wrong, it's irrelevant. They don't care. It's how many did you do? You did 200, he did 300, he's brilliant, you're second rate. Even with a number like that. I mean, it's insane. It's an end in itself. It all leads nowhere. Most of it isn't reproducible by anybody. Chunk of it gets reversed, but by the time it gets reversed, you're doing something else, you don't care. And that's always the new research shows. I've never seen anybody go, where's the guy that did the old research? Give me the baseball bat, because 100 million people followed what this jackass said and turned me diabetic. Somebody ought to be shot for that. And there are people that that did this. There's people that did the cholesterol thing that lied. It was called the 7-country study. They eliminated another 7 countries to make the line look the way they wanted, where if they put the 14 in, there'd be no line. It'd be all over the place. It'd be irrelevant. But they lied. That guy ought to be shot. Nobody said anything. People knew. Nobody did anything. It's incredible. So the first thing is carbohydrates or sugar, and here's the number you need to remember. 20 calories equals a teaspoon. So look at that label. Every 20 calories is a teaspoon. Every 5 grams is a teaspoon. And you will be appalled what you are eating when you add this up. Remember, there's 1 teaspoon of sugar in the bloodstream. That doesn't vary. The only way you're going to get the rest from what you eat is exercise your tail off. And I'm not talking a few minutes. I'm talking hours. You eat a pizza, you better be in that gym for a couple hours, or you're going to get fatter. So what you can do, and the reason I call it 24-hour diet, okay, today I'm going to eat garbage. I'm just doing it because I'm doing it. You can do it. But then you have to know the next day, how do you lose the problem you put on from today? That can be done. So am I going to gain weight? You could say, yeah. I'm traveling today, so I'm eating like garbage. I'm not eating the way I should, so I will put on something. It's going to be gone tomorrow because I know how to fix it. And that's what you can do. So am I going to put on weight? Am I going to be at 0? Or am I going to lose it? And you can decide on a daily basis how you do this, but you have to know what puts it on, what's 0, and what's going to take it off. And you can stay quite full. There's no starving in this. It's not, that's easy. Anybody can lose weight. Starving doesn't, if you don't need to know anything. This is what the models, and this is what the people used to do, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Any thin model that's a professional model would just not eat. So that's easy. But to be decent, you need to know what you're doing. But it's our government and our doctor's fault for having everybody become overweight. I graduated high school in '76. We had 3 overweight people out of 350. 3. You walk into high school now, it's probably flipped. You're probably three people that look the way they should. But if you look at any movie or anything, everybody was thin in the 1950s, 1960s, even the 70s. Now everybody's overweight. And it hasn't helped that it's become acceptable. You got Oprah Winfrey that's hellacious, who's richer than the Dickens, and ownership and Weight Watchers. Women, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can have this person who is not a real good role model, and she's out there, what, the system works? You're the result? Are you kidding me? See, it wouldn't work for a guy. Guys aren't emotional to be, no, there's something wrong here. You want to say this is good, you better at least, or tell me why you're not doing it. I just don't get it. But they don't know anything about physiology or biochemistry. They're doing points, and they'll give you a portion size. You see the picture on the TV, it looks like a normal hamburger. I assure you when it comes, is there anybody that has done those plans? It's probably the size of a silver dollar. It's got to be, because if you can eat anything, you can't eat much of it. Everybody thinks it's about calories. Calories in, calories burned up is how fat I get, right? Anybody think that? Anybody hear that? You've all heard that, right? Anybody think it's true? It's not true. That applies to a heat engine. Okay, we're not a heat engine. We're a chemical engine. A heat engine has a temperature differential, so my feet would be one temperature, my head would be another. We're the same. It's called 98.6, right? So the heat engine analogy is burning wood for heat in a fireplace. We're not doing that. And this was known in 1860. And the medical profession still doesn't have it right, because most doctors would go, oh, it's well, calories minus well, number one, you're not eating calories. Anybody here eating calories? What's a calorie? It's the amount of heat from burning something. Anybody here think we're just burning everything we eat up? You think that? Well, we're not. How do I prove that? You have something called structure. You got muscles, right? If I was burning everything I eat up, how the heck would I ever have a heart, a brain, muscle? We're not just burning it up. We're eating for structure, and this is what these people completely miss. Protein is all structure. It's your muscles, antibodies, half your hormones, fat, same thing, structure. Breast tissue is 85% fat. Half of every cell membrane is fat. When it's not eating to burn up something. It's incredible what they'll say. So if you're having something that's a given in the medical and nutritional profession that was disproved in 1860, what the heck does that say about the profession? It's pretty pathetic. They don't even know their own work because it was a medical physicist that came up with it. His name was Fick. Yes, Fick's law of diffusion. So a pretty smart guy, but this was known. So carbohydrates are horrible. Get used to that. And if you go, I don't care, I'm going to eat it, then get yourself a dartboard, put a picture of yourself on the bullseye, and you are a diabetic time bomb, and it will come, and you will be shooting insulin sooner or later. Mark my words, because you're no different than anybody else. It's only a matter of time before it gets you. And I told you my wife's type 1 diabetic. Because of the oils, we can prevent most of the problems most of the diabetics get, but you don't want to have this. Life is hard enough without having another complication that you created. Now, before you heard this, it was unknowingly. Now you get the book, you know full well what this stuff does, and you want to kill yourself, go ahead, but you better not do it to your kids. And that's the generation that's coming. We've had 3 years in a row now with lowered life expectancy, and it's going to go worse and worse and worse. So the first thing is carbs are sugar in disguise. And you get the book, you'll see all about them. Second thing is, okay, well, I'm going to minimize the carbs and cut them in half. How many should I eat a day? I tell people 12 to 15 teaspoons of sugar, 240 calories. Remember 20 calories per teaspoon, so 20 times 12 is 2. That's not a heck of a lot. But you can do that and you won't be in bad shape. It's not zero, but compared to the 100 teaspoons the average American's eating, 12 to 15, that's where you need to be. And you can do it. So what that means is you want a lot of bang for the buck. So if you're going to eat carbs, you don't want something junky. You want it tasting pretty darn good. So make sure it's a real good piece of pie, or it's a real good couple pieces of pizza, or real good something, because you don't want to waste it. You have a limited resource. Proteins and fats are different. Can I overdose on protein? No. But it's bad for the kidneys. I've heard that. My doctor said, no. Your kidneys have infinite capability to dump the residues of protein. And I talk about it extensively in the book. It's in the medical journals, in the medical textbooks. There is no way. But too much protein gives me osteoporosis. Anybody hear that one? Absolute garbage. Protein transports calcium into the cell, doesn't rip it out. And in the book I talk about, doctors saw that study and I was shocked. That's the doctor's comment. So they don't know physiology, I'm telling you. It's in the curriculum if they want to take it, but I don't think they have to take a physiology class. Because once I gave a lecture in cardiology, and there was a physiology instructor there. He's a doctor. He goes, Brian, I teach this to the doctors, and you lost me after, 15 minutes of this. I said, well, Doc, you got to understand, I'm giving you 10 years worth of this at a fire hose rate of speed. It's not fair. I said, but don't doctors? He goes, nobody got any of this. I said, well, I didn't expect them to get it. I expect them to go, this is really interesting. I need to look at this after. He goes, you just lost them. They don't care. I said, don't they have to take course in this? Don't they get undergraduate degrees in physiology? Nope. It's too hard. They don't do it. So if you really knew how little your doctor knows, you'd be terrified. Nobody wants to think the guy doesn't know much. I'm not saying you don't have some good ones. 20% are good. The old joke is, what is the doctor that has a D+ average? What do you call him? Doctor. Same thing, could have a D-. There's good ones, there's bad ones. Everybody does not have the best, and most are not the best. Most are mediocre, like anybody in any field. So you got to learn this on your own, because doctors don't even get taught this. And in fairness, it's not what they need to be doing. But when you ask them a question, they're going to give you an answer. Whether it's right or not, who the heck knows? But you're paying them, you want an answer, you're getting an answer, and probably 80% of the time it'll be wrong, especially if it's about something they've They just don't know. They don't know any of this. It's like salt. Salt is phenomenal for bringing sugar into the cell. It helps the insulin. So high salt diets are great, but that raises high blood pressure. No, it doesn't. Wrong again. Doctor was man of the year for having the Cornell Hypertensive Institute. And I talked to him. I didn't know he was on the cover of Time. He goes, Brian, it's 1 in 5,000 salt's a problem with. That is a cause of high blood pressure, 1 in 5,000. I said, can I quote you on that? He goes, I don't give quotes to anybody because they misstate what I tell them. I said, how's this? I'll write up exactly what's going to be in my book. And I published it. I said, you can authorize it. He was on vacation in Florida. His secretary gave me the number. And I faxed it to him, and he said, this is okay. 1 in 5,000. So everything you get about this is wrong. If you decrease salt, by the way, you've just cut your hydrochloric acid. You get the elderly, they're not going to be able to digest anything. You ever wonder why you get older and I can't digest anything? It's because you followed the wrong advice. You cut back the salt. Where do you think you're getting the hydrochloric acid from? The chlorine in the salt. Now, you don't want regular salt. You want salt from the sea is the best. So for salt, I like something called Flower of the Ocean. You could pull it up on the internet. It's not the cheapest stuff in the world. It's a sea salt, but it's superb. And you don't use a heck of a lot of it, so even if you spend double, it doesn't matter. So protein makes half of your hormones, not the sexual ones, but a pile of other ones, your antibodies, your enzymes, half of every cell membrane, and you have 100 trillion is protein, makes your muscles, goes on and on and on. Protein is critical. Now, cool thing with protein is you can eat an unlimited amount. And I did an experiment with that. I ate about 1.5 pounds steak for 2 weeks. And you lose weight, I'm telling you. You go, why do you lose weight? Well, number one, only a carbohydrate goes to fat. Protein can't go to fat. It's used for structure. Doesn't get burned up for energy either. So it gets used for structure or some metabolic process like an enzyme or a hormone. 58% of a cooked steak is water. So you got to get rid of half of it right off the bat. Can anybody even believe that? 58% of a cooked steak is molecular water. And you can look this up at the USDA. It's unbelievable. The other thing is 70% of the steak gets burned up in its own digestion. Your body's interesting. It doesn't rely on overall energy to burn it up when it comes to protein. There's an internal little circuit that does it. So 70% of it, which means there's 30% left. You have 50% from the water, so take half of 30. So you eat a pound, you got 15% of the pound. So 16 times 16, 196. You got 2 ounces. You start out with that, you're left with 2 ounces of net protein. Think you're overdosing on protein? Guess again. This is the physiology of it. I've never seen any of that published. Outside of the physiology books, of course, because that's where I got it from. You can't make this up. I mean, it's published, but I've never seen anybody say this or give a reason. This is how bad it is. It's there. I found it. Obviously, other people can find it. Why is nobody saying this? So protein is no issue at all. Yeah, it's all tied to money. Everything is tied to money, unfortunately. Somehow, some way, somebody has a financial interest to mislead you. And they don't care anymore. It's blatant. One of the things here was broken system lets doctors omit industry ties and journals. This is all the pharmaceutical journals. There's like 6 major doctors that didn't say that they were getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies when they wrote about the drug study. Of course, favorable. They said, oh, there's no conflict of interest. Well, you need to disclose that you're doing something. And this is like the head of Sloan Kettering, the head of this, the head of that. This is big name people. And I'm talking millions. It's not, I got $5,000 or $10,000. Guy got millions. And there's no conflict of interest here. They don't care. A couple got fired, so I don't think there's no ramifications, but big scandal came out in the New York Times, major piece. Virtually everything you're told, at least in the field of nutrition, is wrong. So it's very, very difficult. I tell everybody, anything you read, consider it a lie and wrong. Make it the other way before you accept anything. Because my wife will always say something, and I'll just sit there laughing and go, how many times I got to tell you the same thing? You believe this, you're worse than a moron. Well, an idiot's worse. You need to know the idiot, imbecile, moron, you know, when you're dealing with this level. But that's how bad it is. If you believe anything you read in this stuff, and there was an article that came out how they lie. I mean, I've just got so much. It's horrible here. I mean, this is only, I think, the 6 months since I've been here last. But it was how they just mislead you. Maybe let me see if it's this one. Yeah, inside the world of bogus health food claims. It's a full page. Full page. Houston Chronicle. This was February this year. Dark chocolate is heart healthy. Anybody believe that? Now, is it better than non-dark chocolate? The answer is yeah. But that's not saying it's good for you. It's less harmful. It's a big difference.
I wish you hadn't said that.
Yeah, I know. Beer combats Alzheimer's. It's a carb, by the way. So alcohol is not a carb. But beer is carbs. Wine is carbs. Alcohol is not carbs. You are going to burn some of it up, but it's no big deal. So if you don't want to put on weight, hard liquor. I'm not saying it's good for you. It's horrible for you. But you won't put on the weight. Here's another one. Exercise fights obesity better than diet. That's more garbage. So again, it's not exercise. It's not going to do the job. Mango is better for constipation than fiber supplements. Blueberries prevent erectile dysfunction. That's from the Blueberry Console. I'm shocked. I mean, it never ends. It just never ends. And people look at these headlines, and that's it. They just... It's all stupidity. It's all stupidity. Goes on and on and on. So virtually everything you read, it's wrong. There may be a seed of truth to it, but what they're saying is wrong. And the ramifications of that are everybody in America is becoming diabetic. So that's the problem. Too many people listen to these guys. And the minute I see expert, I get scared. We're restricting salt with everybody, and I just told you, it makes glucose transport better, makes insulin work better, and it makes the hydrochloric acid, and it's ubiquitous. It's needed for nerve conduction very, very importantly. And, you know, when doctors say to restrict it, they're insane. It is not the cause of high blood pressure. You have something called antidiuretic hormone. I can give you 10 times the amount of salt you normally have in a day. Within 3 days, you stabilize. This was done. It was called the InterSalt study in 1990. Medicine and nutrition is the only field that does not rely on the past. Every other field builds on people from the past, except medicine and nutrition and health, because they're egomaniac. That's it. They're egomaniacs. Nothing starts except with me. The difference is impossible engineering, and I always say this. I was talking with Brian on Discovery Channel. It's always the brilliant engineer of 1930 came up with this, and he came up with something else from the guy in 1920, and another brilliant one on the shoulders of this guy. Medicine, you never see anybody standing on anybody's shoulders. It's just me. I came up with this, that's it. What about the past? There is no past. And that's why they get nowhere. It's incredible to me. I read this stuff and go, they give credit to no one, and they make no advancements. They go on a merry-go-round. So anybody have any questions on protein that it's a problem with them? It's not. There's no issue.
I got a question on the dark chocolate.
Yep.
I don't want to give that up.
You don't have to.
Okay.
Remember I told you with carbs, it's eat it judiciously. So take a look at the amount of carbs are in there. It's going to be way better than milk chocolate or something. You can eat a fair amount. Make that 6 or 8 of your teaspoons of sugar. Big bang for the buck. That's what you want with carbs. Big bang for the buck.
Does it not have antioxidants as that?
That's all garbage too. Your body makes its own antioxidants. That's absolute garbage. That's why you need the minerals. I'll talk about that. So there's three things you need. You need the parent essential oils. You need a detoxifier to minimize the garbage we are eating. And you need minerals to make your own antioxidants. Body does not need, and that's all garbage, does nothing. Body makes them. Body's pretty good. You give it the raw materials, its job is to make the stuff. It doesn't need much ready-made. So all this antioxidant stuff doesn't work at all. Does not work. You know, all the stores have this miracle vegetable has got a rating score of, 20 million and this is 2. Could care less. From 10 years ago, blueberries were the big antioxidant. Broccoli sprouts were anti-can. It's like the flavor of the year club. You look at it every year, they go with more, just pick a new one, insert here, and they sell a ton of it, and somebody does quote a study. It's not worth the paper it's printed on, and away you go. And it's always funded by somebody. Plenty of universities will say anything you want. Just pay me. Just pay me enough. Just fill in what you want. They write the darn article for him, and the guy slops his name on it. It's called ghostwriting. That's been exposed. Doesn't matter.
So are the benefits of wild blueberries bogus or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to eat them, eat them. I mean, they're fine. They're going to satisfy your sweet tooth. But as far as the other stuff, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Blueberry is God's chosen fruit. Strawberry doesn't have it, but the blueberry, no.
What about cholesterol?
A very good question, cholesterol. Cholesterol transport, well, let me talk about the oils, then I'll get back to cholesterol. So the biggest nutritional deficiency in the world by a factor of 20 are the oils. And the reason is you have 100 trillion cells. Half of every cell membrane is protein. The other half is fat. Out of that half fat, 25 to 33% are parent essential oils. So there's two types. There's parent omega-6, parent omega-3. Body can't make either of them. They've got to come from food. Where do they come from? Well, for the oils, they come from seeds, flaxseed, sunflower seed, evening primrose seed, but they come even from meat because they have the same structure too. Problem is on the omega-6 side, the food processors have to stop the oxygen transfer, or you would have bread smelling like the fish market. Okay, they can't do that. So they stop the oxygen. Same thing with frying. You'd have fry oil at the fast food restaurants being good for 3 days instead of a month. Can't have that. And that's fine, except if you're going to change this food, tell us what we do to counteract the damage you're doing. Because you're supposed to have the oxygen transfer, and it's supposed to, quote, oxidize and go bad, and that's why you need new stuff in the body. So these oils on the omega-6 side, body has 11 to 1, by the way, ratio. So anybody's saying, because you've all seen your overdose on omega-6, right? Everybody see that in the news everywhere? That's what you're told. You're not overdosed on omega-6, you're overdosed on adulterated, ruined omega-6. So they have to stop the oxygen transfer. How they do it? Trans fat, esterified fat, preservatives. It stops it. It makes it not biologically active, and it doesn't work in the cell membrane. So when I get in the cell membrane, it acts like plastic. That's a hydrogenated oil. You could put it out in the garage for a year. No animal touches it. It doesn't go bad. Nothing grows on it. That's what's in your cell membrane. That's what your great cardiologist told you to eat instead of butter, because butter has saturated fat and you need the margarine. Good job. So just imagine a plastic membrane. Can anything get through it? No. That's insulin resistance. Can oxygen go in there? No. That's cancer. Otto Warburg conclusively showed you deprive a cell of oxygen by 35% intermittently over a long period of time, cancer is spontaneously introduced. So if you put the right oil, parent omega-6 that's fully functional in the cell, there's no cancer. And they proved this in 1953 and 1955. So the oils are critical. The omega-6 side is 20 times more powerful than the omega-3. The omega-3 side is very, very weak. Average tissue, an organ will be 4 to 1 parent omega-6 to parent omega-3. It means 4 times more parent omega-6 is in your heart than omega-3. But there's still a fair amount of the omega-3 in there. What's it needed for? Not real sure. There's been journal articles. Why do you even need omega-3? Because if you don't eat much of it, there's almost no effects you see. But if I restrict the parent omega-6, it'll be awful. Your skin will be drier than heck. It'll be a mess. All your skin here is all parent omega-6. So if you don't have smooth skin, you're not getting these oils. The inside of your arteries is the same lining of your skin. So if your skin is no good and is dry or patchy or has age spots, the inside of your arteries and your organs are the same thing. All the lining of the artery is epithelial. All the lining of your organs is epithelial. That's called a carcinoma for cancer. So it's all tied to these oils. No reason to be getting cancer. No reason to be getting heart disease. So with the oils again, they make the structure. It's brick and mortar. Remember, 25 to 33% is in the membrane of 100 trillion cells. So that's like this. It's the brick and mortar of this. If you don't have these, this is going to be weak as heck. I don't care what the paint color is. You have a nice paint job on something that's going to just fall apart. That's the problem we have today. Parent omega-6 side also makes PGE1, which is your body's #1 anti-inflammatory. So anybody with arthritis or any aches and pains, you're not getting enough natural PGE1. That's the omega-6 side. It's also PGI2. That's still the omega-6 side. Makes it where the platelets can't stick together and can't stick to an arterial wall. PGE1 also makes the arteries vasodilate bigger. That means more blood flow. So a big problem today is people aren't getting the blood flow. That's dementia. That's Alzheimer's. I can't think. I have no memory. You're not getting any damn blood flow. And it's now known that dementia and Alzheimer's is vascular. All the capillaries are 100% omega-6. There's hundreds of millions of capillaries in the brain. They're all parent omega-6. Now, if they're screwed up, that's where the nutrient transfer is. It's where the oxygen transfer is. That's where the transfer of everything is. Well, doesn't that make sense? If I'm not getting the transfer of anything, I can't do anything. It's not beta amyloid. Everybody here has seen the beta amyloid garbage for Alzheimer's for the past 25 years. That's why they spent about 10 or 12 billion and got nowhere. The beta amyloid's a protein. It's leaking out of the cell because the oil, the parent omega-6 in the cell, is adulterated. So it's letting the protein leak out of it. That's where it's coming from. What's the answer? Fix the cell membrane. Done. And that's what these oils do. So there's parents, parent omega-6, parent omega-3, and derivatives. Body makes derivatives as needed. That's EPA, DHA fish oil, right? They're not EFAs. EFAs means essential. There's only 2 essentials. Parent omega-6, parent omega-3, your body makes derivatives as needed, and it makes very few of them. Less than 1%. The problem the medical profession had is they thought all the parents would go to derivatives. So 30 years ago, we'll just give derivatives. You don't even need the parents. Parents don't do anything. Again, they understood no physiology that 25 to 33% of 100 trillion cells are made of this stuff. So you just don't need it, huh? I mean, beyond stupid. But that's what happens when you have no physiology. You miss the core of everything every time, and it never ends. Because all of my colleagues go, how can they keep missing this? No physiology. Yep, no physiology. Yep, no. I've never come across anybody that knows anything. Even the ones that do know physiology, they seem to get corrupted. I had one, pathologist, but he wasn't a physiologist. He had something very interesting. But I've not come across any physiologist that had anything interesting to say. I've come across one, this guy knew nothing. I thought I was going to have a very good meeting with him. He understood nothing about the oils. You will come across nobody that knows anything about parent essential oils. The reason is, if there is anybody, they typically go into petrochemical because they don't go into pharmacy. They don't go into medicine. They go into petrochemical because they're plastics. And that's the way the chains look. So it's unfortunate. You get nobody that looks from a physiology viewpoint on the structure of cells. That's why I say, if you don't get this book and learn this stuff for your own, you will not get it. And it's the number one thing. It's all in the cell membrane, period. And nobody talks about it. Nobody, which is appalling to me. So the oils are absolutely critical. You need the parent omega-6, the parent omega-3, and every time they try and change it, that was the hydrogenated oil. It's patented in 1911. That's a trans fat. That causes heart disease, it causes cancer, that's known. That's what your doctor told you to be eating since 1970 to stop the saturated fat. Margarine. Good job. Good job. There's interesterified fats now. New York came up and said we're not going to have trans fats. And the minute that happened, I said, God help us with what they're going to replace them with. And, people looked at me going, what? I said, that's the question. I guarantee what they're going to replace them with is worse. And the answer is it is worse. It's called, you can look it up, interesterified fat. It raises blood sugar levels. Gee, we have a diabetes epidemic, and New York State, by thinking they're smart, making it worse. You're accelerating it. You raise the blood sugar levels, you just made it worse. What's the saying? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Every time you turn around, you are going to suffer because people don't know what they're talking about. So the oils are critical. So there's three things everybody needs. The oils are paramount. And for the price, it's the biggest bang for the buck. The only ones that don't need them are raw foods vegan, like a Dr. Rowan. And raw foods vegan is you can't cook anything. So if you want to live that way, not easy. Not easy. Everybody else needs them. The minerals, they're not in the soil. Why? Because you don't need, the fertilizers they have don't have the minerals in it. They can grow the plants just fine. The way we get minerals is from the plant, and then the animal eats the plant, we eat the mineral. So a mineral has to be tied to a protein, an amino acid. We can't use it. We can't eat a plant and get the minerals. So this nonsense with Popeye eating the spinach with his big muscles from the iron, you can't absorb any of it. It's worthless. Anybody here know that? We can't break down cellulose. We have no enzyme to do it. Cellulose is not considered food for a human being. Every time we're misled. So we have to get it from animal sources. Now, you can eat cottage cheese if you want protein. You don't necessarily have to eat an animal. But that's the way we get the minerals, from animal-based protein. So you need those. They're not in the soil anymore. They're coenzymes, so they make vitamins work better. And they make chemical reactions go up to 1,000,000 times faster. So if you don't have them, you lose a lot of energy because the minerals are tied to the mitochondria. And mitochondria, if you read about that, is where all your energy is. And mitochondrial deficiency is at the cause of a lot of things. These help that. And then you need something to minimize the negative garbage we're eating, the pesticides, the hormones, and that best thing in the world I found is called Essiac. And I added cat's claw to it, and I consider that the ultimate optimizer. I mean, it also kills everything in the bloodstream that shouldn't be there, so which is really good. It's a blood purifier. So those are the three things everybody needs: the oils, the minerals, and a detoxifier. And the best thing in the world is to read this book, and I think they're having classes three times to go through the book, because it's all here, but you really need somebody to pound it to you, because this is the only place you're getting it, and then you get out of here, you stop reading it, and you're back to the normal garbage in the women's magazines, the health food magazines. They're horrible. Everything in there is wrong. I don't care what it is. It's going to be wrong. They never solve anything. Think about it. How can any health magazine ever solve anything? You wouldn't be buying the magazine next month. It's this month's cure. that month's cure, the new cure. It's the same thing. They go run around on a treadmill. They don't want anything solved. It's like drug companies really don't want a disease solved. They want it managed for life. They make money. How can they solve it? Well, they are trying to solve a few, but they're multi-million-dollar things to do. I think they have a Hep C vaccine or something that's a fortune. There was some other thing that I think it's multi-millions they're trying to pass to have it paid for. It fixes something. They have to. It's just horrible state of affairs we're in. I mean, horrible. But no one cares if you don't. No one cares. All they want your money, and if you don't want to believe that, God help you. I'm dead serious. I've seen it happen to too many people. Somebody I know, 92, they're giving him radiation for his prostate. Does anybody think that's kind of stupid at that age? Prostate cancer is not a real main cancer, by the way. It's not real aggressive. At 92? Another one at 89. They were treating her aggressively for breast cancer. 89. I mean, this kind of stuff is insane. Now, remember, your quality of life is going to go to squat. You start getting treated with cancer treatments, with high radiation, high chemo. Yeah, you may be alive for another month, sitting in bed, wanting to do nothing and pretty much wanting to die, and they consider this a success. It's unbelievable. Just hope you don't get sick. You do not want to get sick in today's mentality, because first do no harm is gone. They'll do a ton of harm, and they'll give you other stuff to try and compensate, but they don't care anymore. That was a Hippocratic oath. Originally, first do no harm. That's gone. So it's a very different world today, and money rules. So I have a few questions to answer, but I really hope if you don't have this book, get it and make it your temporary Bible for a month. Read the whole thing straight through. I don't care how long it takes you to do it, and then read it a second time. And even the doctors do this, because it's like trying to take a drink with a fire hose. There is just so much. It's not that it's overly intellectually challenging. It's just so much, and so much is counter to what you've read, you can't believe it. You got to go over it again and go, wait a minute, it's a medical textbook. There's been 19 editions of this. This is the #1 medical textbook in North America. And here's what they're saying. How the hell can anybody say the opposite of this? Well, they do. And nobody calls them on it. Nobody calls them on it. So fundamental to get this, and those 3 supplements are good for 99% of the population. You need nothing else. Now, if you have different diseases or things, you can take other stuff, but for 99% of average people, those 3 things solve everything. Because I always look at what's changed today from 50 years ago. Well, the oils are completely processed. They didn't used to be. Nature designed us to have them non-processed, so if they didn't process them, I wouldn't be here. The minerals, they're not in the soil anymore. They're not using natural fertilizer. Simple as that. And then the Essiac, the blood purifier, because they're putting so much additives and junk on it, you wouldn't need that either if we didn't destroy ourselves. So that's the reason for everything. So I always look at what's changed. Why the heck do you need this? And there better be a damn good reason, or you don't probably need to be taking it as a supplement. So I got plenty of time for some questions. Oh, cholesterol. Cholesterol transports the oils, okay? Just picture a magnet. So here's the cholesterol thing. Here's the parent essential oils, and they're magnetized. So you get a statin. It cuts the whole thing, drops it out. And that's good if you have adulterated oils. Remember the omega-6 that they're screwing with the oxygen transfer so it doesn't go bad? So if I lower that, that's good, but what have I done with it at the same time? I've lowered the good stuff. That's a big problem. So the answer isn't lowering it. The answer is put in more of the parent essential oils. Here's the big thing with cholesterol. There's no cholesterol sensor in the bloodstream. Okay. Is there a sensor for other stuff? Yeah, everything. Calcium, sodium, potassium, everything. There's just glucose. And that sensor is pretty damn good. It's good to 1 part in 1,000. So if the body needs it regulated, I assure you there's a sensor in there regulating it. So the first thing when I saw that was cholesterol never needed to be regulated. That's why there's no sensor. Oh, it's a genetic defect. No, it's not. No, it's no defect whatsoever. It's called a dependent variable, if you know any mathematics at all. And whenever everything else is defined, there's 1 degree of freedom. So this can be whatever the hell it needs to be. And that's why it's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. LDL cholesterol never, ever, ever was called bad in the medical textbooks. The drug companies came up with that, making it bad. It's the most required substance in the human body. If it's bad, why don't I bring it to 0? There's actually one cardiologist said there's no lower limit, meaning you could bring it to 0. I can't believe this. This is a big cardiologist at the Cleveland Clinic. I'm speechless. Speechless. This guy could be so ignorant about physiology. You bring cholesterol to 0, you'll kill him fast. The people with the highest cholesterol levels live the longest and had the least brain problems. I talk about cholesterol in here, hugely needed. Biggest con job in the American people. Well, there's so many of them. It's one of the biggest. Statins work 1%, 99% failure. This is by the drug companies themselves. 15 billion a year. Can you imagine failing 99% of the time in your job? You'd be fired instantly. Oh, they're considered brilliant. And if I made 15 billion being 1% successful, I'd say pretty brilliant too. Again, they haven't helped the patient, but they've made a pile of money on you. So that's the whole thing with cholesterol, con job. But isn't HDL good? Nope. It's irrelevant. LDL brings it in, HDL brings it out. It's a system. HDL does not protect you from a damn thing. 0. Another con job. And every time they try to artificially raise it, patients die. So all the drug studies with raising HDL got canned. They're crazy. They're crazy. Okay, good question though. Yeah.
Organic meats?
Biggest bang for the buck on organic is anything with fat in it, because that's where the pesticides, the steroids, all the hormone residues are. So bacon, butter, eggs, cheese, cream, milk, that's where you want to spend the money on organic. The meats you can, because they have fat too. But the more you cook them, you what's called denature it, meaning the steroid residues don't work. They get impotenized. So the higher you cook them, so I like my stuff more well done, that makes all the additives in it not work. So if you have the money to go organic or natural, absolutely. But it gets expensive. I mean, I try and do a lot of it. But anything with fat, organic, that's the bang for the buck in spending and saving money.
If you can't,
Cook it more.
bake it, cook it more, and the SCX, does that clean the body?
That helps. Yeah, that SAC helps too. Fruits and vegetables, the worst ones, strawberries, spinach, kale, they're highly, I think the New York Times had a thing on the worst pesticided stuff. So if you want to get strawberries, make darn sure they're organic. Spinach, darn sure it's organic. Kale, darn sure it's organic. Farmers markets or something, is what I like. Good questions.
On the news tonight, there was, national news, they were talking about these parents that wanted to use an alternative method to treat their child for cancer, and the powers that be took away the parental rights and
Yeah,
they're doing chemo.
yeah. The medical profession has a lock and key on if you have cancer, radiation, chemo, that's it. And if you're a parent trying to change that, they'll rip the kid away from you. It's incredible. And the results are hellacious. It's not very effective. It's not very effective at all. All they do with cancer is they catch it earlier and say you're living longer. No, you're not. Not living longer at all. And I just met with a doctor today that's very big in cancer. Said, Brian, we've made almost no improvements. Past 20, 30 years. All this personalized medicine is a bunch of garbage. The genetic stuff is garbage. It's all physiologic. It's all Warburg stuff, and I don't talk about it in here, but I talk about it in other books. The oils are tied to oxygenation. lack of cellular oxygenation is the reason you get cancer. You solve that, you're not getting cancer. It's a lack of something.
Talking about fats, a long time ago when I was growing up, we used to eat beef that had lots of marbling
Yep.
on it, fat on it, ham that had fat
Yep.
on it, chicken skin that was
Yep.
fatty. I ate all that stuff.
Sure,
Is that fat good or bad for you?
it's fine.
Yes.
Just what you're saying. It's fine. Fat has never been a problem. Another con job. It's horrible.
All right, you stop somewhere to get something to eat, you're on the road,
Yeah.
you buy something, you're hungry. You wind up getting some of these adulterated oils.
You're gonna, yep.
I can't avoid it.
Right.
How much is that going to
Yeah,
harm
excellent.
very essential oil?
Yeah, very good question. I have to eat some junk at a fast food place. I'm going to get the adulterated oils. I'm going to do it. I'm going to eat it fast food. Goes in as a percentage. So if I eat 20% of the stuff from the fast food place, 20% of my cell membranes are going to be screwed up. So it's as a percentage. So as long as you're taking the good parent essential oils and not living on the junk like the French fries, minimize the adulterated oils out there, you'll be fine. 35% less oxygen is where you need to get cancer. So you have a 35% latitude in there.
In other words,
You can eat some junk.
you can't
That's the good
eat-
point.
You can't eat more parent essential oils.
Yeah, you can. If you eat more of the parent essential oils, you can eat more junk.
Well,
But if you take the normal amount, because it's a percentage. So if I eat double that, I can raise the amount of junk I eat. It's a percentage. But you don't have to raise the amount and just eat less of the junk. If you want to have French fries, cook them at home. You can use coconut oil, you can use ghee, you can use palm oil. Make it organic. I have French fries. There's no problem with French fries. They talked about it a long time ago as acrylamides or something, which does nothing to people. There's no issue. But you can make this stuff at home. I have a deep fryer. I have it filled with ghee, organic ghee, so you can keep using the stuff, and it's just great. I mean,
how come
I'll
it
probably use
doesn't
it twice. I'll
oxidize
probably
and
use it twice a week.
How come it doesn't oxidize and rot?
It doesn't. That has a smoke point of 480. It's not going to oxidize. So the oils that are good for frying, like clarified butter is ghee, it doesn't go bad. The milk solids are out of it. It just doesn't go bad. And it doesn't have the omega-6 oils in it that, or omega-3 that can go bad. So it doesn't go bad. Same thing with peanut oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil. Better to get organic because you don't want the pesticides in there if you're going to fry it. But all the you want a high smoke point oil is what you look for. And just make sure it's organic. And you could fry all day long in it. You could saute in it. If you want to make an egg, I like half butter, half olive oil is perfect. No problem at all.
What can you tell us about medical and recreational marijuana?
Not much. I mean, I really haven't looked at it. So I don't like talking about what I don't know. I have no personal experience with it. What do you say? Have you?
I just hear about it all the time.
I never listen to 90% of what I hear, what they say, because they want to sell the garbage, so they'll say anything. It's like fish oil for 10 years, 20 years was the be-all to end-all. It's worthless. Doesn't work at all. So I would say the same thing for this other stuff. I mean, it may do something for pain. I don't know if you smoke it. As far as the oil itself, I'm not big on it.
Here in Iowa, they're big on soybean oil.
Yeah, it's horrible. Soybean's not a good oil. It's an endocrine disruptor. It screws up the thyroid. Yeah, it's peroxidase. Yeah, it's not. I talk about it in here. It's not. It is really food for a pig. If you ever smell soybean ground up, it's horrible. It's horrible, and it's not. It's just not a good oil at all. It's not made for humans.
Several years ago, my father-in-law had a heart attack, and the doctors told my mother-in-law to start using canola oil.
Yeah, canola oil is another one. It used to be called rapeseed oil, and that's where mustard gas came from, which is a neurotoxin. So it's, canola oil stands for Canada oil, by the way. It's not a seed or anything. In America, we used to have coconut oil at all the movie theaters. Canada came in, booted that out for their garbage. That's a horrible oil, and of course, it's all processed. So every time you turn around, nothing goes for the better, it goes for the worst.
How do you feel about coconut oil?
Coconut oil is fine. Get organic, of course, the same way, but the virgin stuff is excellent. It'll smell like coconut, but it won't taste like it.
So it's okay to put your coffee or...
You can do that, the bulletproof coffee, if you want it. Yeah, coconut oil's okay. I wouldn't overdose on it. I mean, it's got MCTs and other things. I'm not big on that. I find taking the parent essential oils, you don't need that. But you can use it. I mean, I wouldn't put multiple tablespoons in, but nothing wrong with it at all.
What if you already have cancer?
Outstanding to, depending on the stage, you can reverse it or at least impede it. If you've had cancer and don't want it coming back, the best thing in the world is to oxygenate to make it very difficult to come back. So the answer is, for any case of any issue with cancer, these oils, critical.
Okay, I've got cancer.
Okay, what stage?
It's almost, they think it may have prostate cancer, and they said that I may have a hole on the prostate wall that may have let cancer cells through.
So it metastasized, is that what they're saying?
I'm not sure, they can't prove it. They say
They can't do a marker? I mean, there's all
No,
kinds of
no,
markers.
I went through all that shit. And
I thought they had good markers for
well,
this.
they say if you only have a few cells floating around someplace.
Won't pick it up.
They can't pick it up.
And the superb thing is the liquid, the Essiac is outstanding for prostate problems.
What is that?
Essiac, that's the detoxifier I talked about.
Yes. Okay, is that in the book?
Yeah, I think it's all in the book.
Okay,
But you could check outside too.
sure.
And for the most powerful one is the liquid version. That's brewed for 12 hours, so lots of experience with prostate cancer. Outstanding. And if you take the oils too, outstanding results.
Right now,
The parent oils.
I'm in the midst of the treatment.
Doesn't matter, you can take it, it makes the treatment better.
Okay.
These oils make radiation and chemo more effective. This is proven.
You know, what was that? What did you say that was?
Liquid Essiac is what you want.
You spell Essiac.
ESSIAC. You can look this up and see what it is on the internet.
Okay.
And I'd take double for 90 days. I'd take double of the oils for 90 days too. Then you could cut back a little bit. It's outstanding.
We have a friend that reversed a lung cancer with, I don't remember, large, what? With all three products.
Lung cancer can even be reversed too. Yep.
He took a lot of, he was doing a lot of SAF.
Yep. It's outstanding. Lung cancer is hard to reverse.
You talked about MS.
Yeah, it's a neurologic thing. The oils help build your nerves. So it does help MS, and it gives you more energy. It's an oxygenator, so absolutely the oils.
I get Essiac from Canada, where Renee Case.
Yeah, the Essiac brand. Yeah, they have brand, yeah.
They use, they suggest pine bark with it, so I get.
I like
it.
slippery elm bark. There's people that have changed the formulation. I like the original 4-herb one. There's been all kinds of... I like the original one, and then I've added cat's claw, which is the best upper respiratory. You're talking about lung cancer. It's the best upper respiratory thing on the planet. So it's like turbocharged Essiac is
And
what I
they-
talk
they
about.
have it in capsules and liquid.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
It's great stuff.
What can you say about the properties of asparagus?
Nothing. Properties of asparagus? Nothing. I eat it. I like it. Tastes good. Charred, steamed. Other than that, I don't know anything about it. What properties is this supposed to have? Is it supposed to be something magical?
Well,
Asparagus?
I have a pharmacy friend that deeply experienced that. His wife sent out an article on asparagus
What's it supposed to do? I don't know. I'm listening to you.
Well, a natural way to offset cancer.
Oh, anti-cancer? Asparagus. I've never heard of it. I don't know what the pathways would be or why, but I've never heard of it.
Well, I may get a copy of it, send it to you.
Yeah. Oh, if you bring it to the store, you can forward it to me. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Does SEAC help cleanse environmental toxins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a superb blood detoxifier. Yeah, it's excellent. Absolutely excellent.
So he talked about cancer, what if you already have heart disease?
You can reverse it. The cloggage, PGE1 reverses it. This was shown in 1981 with a German physician. It reverses it.
So what if you're so clogged?
PGE1 is incredible, and it's a vasodilator, so it makes everything bigger.
So where's PGA1 come from?
That comes from the parent omega-6. It's the first derivative of the omega-6 side. So your body makes derivatives as needed. Yeah, you can't buy it. Body makes it. As long as it gets the parent form, and if it's unadulterated. Now, if you take too much fish oil, it shuts that down. So taking fish oil, when I say it's a poison, it's horrible. It shuts down the PGE1. It acts like a steroid. So anybody taking fish oil, I hope none of you are taking that garbage, but it acts like a long-term steroid. Horrible, horrible substance. Horrible. You're not a fish, and it's antifreeze for a fish. Makes it where they don't freeze. That's all it is. Now, we do have it in the brain, but the half-life is 2.5 years. So your antioxidants better not get wasted somewhere and stay protecting your brain. Every 2.5 years is when a molecule of DHA gets overturned in the brain. Stays around that long. That's why you need so little a day.
Can you reverse dementia with oil?
Depends on the level. Good question. Can you reverse dementia? Depends how bad it is, how long it's been going. Theoretically, I'd say absolutely you should be able to, but I don't know. We haven't done any studies with it. Theoretically, you should be able to. I don't see any reason why you can't, because I don't know. But you should be able to with this. I would bet you money you can. But it's easy to do a 30, 60-day test with it. There's no negatives. It's just it won't work. Bless you, it won't work well enough. That's the only downside.
Can you
Good
reverse,
question.
can you reverse neuropathy?
I think so with the neuropathy too. Actually, we're going to be doing a study with that one in the next few months. We're going to start. I think you can. We're going to hopefully prove you can pretty soon. That's a big one.
And then you'll publish the formula.
We'll publish the article on it in a medical journal. Well, it's the oils. You know, we're going to be doing a study with the oils, is what I'm saying, yeah. So you can do a test yourself, but this will be a formal thing, you know, where you get nerve conduction, velocity, and, you know, we're going to have it very formalized. But it should. Do you have that? Take double the oils. You know, if you get capsules, 7 or 8. If you do liquid, 1 teaspoon a day, you should see a difference in 30 days. Yeah, it doesn't take long. It's going to be fast.
You talked about skin cancer today on the radio.
Yeah.
What, I didn't catch much of it.
Skin cancer, sunscreen won't protect you. The thing is, the chemicals in sunscreen get absorbed into the blood immediately, and it's toxic. So sunscreen's horrible. Your skin is all parent omega-6, and the reason you're getting cancer is because you don't have the integrity of the parent omega-6. That's all your skin is made of. So if it's adulterated there, the sun hits it, and it oxidizes it, it ruins it. So that's where the cancer's coming from. If you have the right stuff, you should never get cancer there. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Do you need research subjects for the neuropathy study?
It's going to be done in Miami. But you can take this on your own. I mean, this is a formal trial. It's a supplement, so you can try it yourself. Just take double the normal amount. You could take it all at once or split it. Yeah, the PEOs and 30-day test. You're going to know real fast. I can tell you it absolutely prevents neuropathy because my wife is type 1 and has 5% in her feet. That's it. After 30 years of having diabetes, type 1, and rotten control for 20 of those years, 25 of those years, rotten control. It's virtually no neuropathy. So I'm very hopeful with this. Reversing it, I would think it should be. I see no reason why it wouldn't be. But yeah, you can try this right away and just let Brian know if you get promising results. But within 30 days, all it should take. You should start seeing a difference.
We talked before about opioids,
Yeah.
and I just want to update you, my son's doing very well. I give him Essiac, and, a lot
Okay.
of the oils, I do give him the oils.
Good.
He's off of everything.
Excellent.
That he thought he needed before.
And so he doesn't need it now.
Right.
Congratulations. Hell of a job.
Is there anything for sleep?
Yeah, the oils. Actually, one of our biggest doctors, it's what it did for him. He had insomnia. He goes, Brian, I've tried everything. Your stuff was the only thing that did it. And he started selling it to all his patients. I mean, would buy hundreds of bottles a month.
A high dose?
No, normal.
Just normal?
Normal. Yeah. Just the normal. I mean, you could go 50% more if you want. But, I just don't like people wasting their money. Oh, it's going to be fast. Yeah, it's going to be fast.
On the parent essential oils, you've talked about the 3 and the 6. But what
That's all that there is. The 9 is automatically in oils. That's like olive oil. So typically it's 20 to 30% of any oil. Nature is good. It gives you what's needed. And it's even in the cell membrane, 20 or 30%. It's just not essential. If you don't get it from that, your body makes it, but it's in the oil naturally. And we don't like screwing around, taking stuff out chemically. So it's better just leave it in there. But it's a non-essential, but it's in there. But the key parts are the 6 and the 3. Good question.
Is there any certain time of day that's best to take them?
The oils?
Yeah.
I like taking some at night because you recuperate at night. So I typically do first thing in the morning, last thing at night. And if I need anything other than then, you can always take more. If you're an athlete or something, excuse me, 2 before you work out, 2 after you work out. But morning and night, I like them at bedtime. You just wake up like, boom. I got 3 hours of sleep last night. 10 hours at the airport because there were delays in Houston. Got here at 1 o'clock, did some reading, went to bed at 2, and was up at 5. And I'm not in bad shape. It's just the oils. It's good stuff.
did you have a story today on the radio about the microwave popcorn? Did you
No,
talk about-
that wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But it's bad for you, right?
Oh, microwave everything I wouldn't touch. I do not use it for anything.
You spoke of vitamin C in your first book.
Did I?
Yeah.
What did I say about it? Not big on it. You can do it IV. You mean Radiant Health?
Yeah.
That was the first one.
What is
Going way back. Vitamin C.
I'm just wondering, there's thousands.
We don't need much of it is my point.
Ideas on what kind and which one.
No, I don't take it at all. If you have a problem, cancer or something, and you use an IV of it, fine. Other than that, I screwed around with it when I was a kid. Did absolutely nothing. Linus Pauling, when it came to this, was dead wrong. Even Nobel Prize winners make mistakes when they go outside their own field. I couldn't find it doing a damn thing. Anybody here find vitamin C works at all? And it better stop it better do something, not I think it works. So you've had failure with it too?
Maybe
Alright.
stomach hurt.
Yeah, yeah.
Major se-
If I have a cold, I'll take some
It's a-
of those.
But what do you mean by it helps? The cold is done how much faster?
Cold goes away fast.
Does it?
Yeah.
Did nothing for me.
So,
How much do you take?
I'll probably
Massive?
take 5 grams.
That considered a big amount?
Most people take like 500 milligrams, so 500 grams would be
No, so you're
5,000.
yeah, so you're at 10 times the.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
you're doing massive
But,
dose.
the 1 or 2 doses and boom, the thing's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Any kind of colds or anything, I will slug down the liquid Essiac, and I may take half a bottle. It's gone. I'm in Houston, so we get a pile of pollen and stuff from the trees. It's horrible physical irritation. But if anything comes, I've had nothing in the past year. I mean, I used to be horrific, going back 20 years. Nothing. Anything starts, I just drink half a bottle of it. Yeah. Drink a massive amount over a day. One day, it's gone. Day 2, you'll have nothing. For the price, $20 not to be sick for 3 days?
Yeah.
So you can't overdose?
No. Nope.
So you do that when you fly also?
Yeah, I take a lot of it because you're around all kinds of sick people and everything. So over there, I probably had a half a bottle of it the past, from 5:30 on. Yeah. I mean, I won't take any more tomorrow. It's still effective for a day. I get nothing from planes. I don't care how long it is, nothing. And I always used to get sick. But Houston is horrible for pollen and all kinds of garbage from the trees. And I'm susceptible to that anyway. Nothing. It's because of that.
So is the liquid form that much better?
The liquid Essiac is more powerful than just the capsule form because it contacts, so it's liquid. So if you have any kind of a throat irritation issue, it's a different thing. It's only the water soluble. It's brewed for 12 hours. It's more money, but it depends on what you're after.
What about in the other, like on the oils?
Oils are oils. Doesn't matter if they're capsule or liquid. It's irrelevant. The minerals only come in together. They're inorganic anyway. There are only one form of them. 2 more questions, and then you can start looking at the book.
What about, getting back to the diet? I mean.
Yes.
You need a lot of protein. You don't need sugar.
Carbs. Remember, sugar equals carbs. It's not just sugar. There's no difference.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing everybody loses sight of. I'm eating brown, organic, whole wheat bread. Actually, the whole wheat stuff is worse than the white. Another con job. It's worse. You don't want the hull of the damn thing. It's worse.
So,
Get the white bread.
Is that white bread?
Organic is what you want, of course.
Organic white bread?
Yeah. You don't want whole wheat. I hate the taste, too. This gluten stuff, I think, is another bunch of BS for most people, too. You may have a few people with a sensitivity to it, but it's not. The whole industry's popped up with this garbage. It's incredible. Everything is an epidemic. Why? If there's a problem with it, it's because of the gut. You're not having the omega-6 in the gut, and that's the leaky gut syndrome. It has nothing to do with gluten. It's insane. I'm not saying it's good for you, but it's not what they're saying it is. Everybody doesn't have it like they're. I think if you try having flour without it, it tastes rotten, doesn't it? How's this gluten-free stuff? I've never had it, but I would imagine it's junk. I'm sure it is. It's a protein, if you don't know what gluten is. It's in flour. But I think it's going to change the structure totally, and then how you're processing it out. I'll bet you by the processing, they're creating more harm than the gluten does. It's like the interesterified fat, that's better than the trans fat.
Well, is it a gluten problem, or is it a problem with eating?
It's eating carbs, period.
Excess?
It's carbs, period. There's
Wow,
nothing,
yeah.
it's nothing to do with the gluten.
Yeah.
And that's my point. You shouldn't be living on the crap anyway. So it's a good reason to, it's like lactose intolerance. I'll go, actually, it's a good thing. You shouldn't be having milk. You can have cream. There's no lactose in cream. People don't know that. They're not told that by their doctor. You can have all the cream you want. Nobody's intolerant to cream. There's no lactose in it. Yeah.
so do one of these products help you get over the sugar craving?
Excellent. Yeah, the oils help fulfill those cravings. And the ultimate thing is the protein powder fruit smoothie. That gives you the fulfillment of the sweetness from the fruit. So you do that with the oils, your cravings will be gone in a month, if not much sooner. It's fast. I kid you not. You're not a carbivore anymore. Carbivore. Yeah.
So Tim, what I started taking, when I said day one,
Yeah.
the cravings were gone, that was the oils,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's day one, it worked that fast.
One.
I'm conservative, so I tell you 30 days, but it's typically way the heck
I've
faster.
been taking them for about 60 days,
Yeah.
and it's still,
Interesting.
it's transformed my cravings.
Well, that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are not eating because they're mentally ill. This is what, the doctors don't get. They got a physiologic craving because your body is going, I want these oils. I don't know what else to do except make you crave food. So I'm going to make you hungry all the damn time. You didn't give me any. So it's eat, crave, eat, crave, eat, crave. Right. So nature doesn't have much of a choice and hopes you get them in the next bat. You never do. So you're an eating machine. And then the nutritionist comes in, oh, you're supposed to eat 6 times a day anyway.
That's what
Right?
I've been told. Yeah.
And they're idiots. They're going to make you diabetic because they don't understand how the pancreas works. It's horrible. My joke is, it's not a joke, it's so tragic. The quote solution is actually the cause of the problem. You can't get any more insidious than this. It's this bad. That's why I get so passionate about this. And that's why you really need to get this book so you can learn it and be done with it. It'd be the best 8 hours you ever spent in your life, and read it twice. The first time, just read it straight through. Could take 2 weeks to do it. I don't care. Just go through it and don't think about it too much. The second time, because then you'll get everything in perspective. Then the second time, you really read the damn thing. And don't feel bad, because doctors do it too. May even read it 3 times. Because they're just not used to the kind of density that's in here. I mean, it's dense. It's not that it's intellectually hard. It's just, and you're not used to seeing this because it's the opposite of what you've been told your whole life. So you're going to get mad too.
Yeah, haven't I heard you say before that we'd be better off just eating 2 meals a day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the less you eat, the better.
Yep.
1 time is actually perfect. But no more than 2. I don't know how anybody could eat 3 times a day. Taking these oils, I don't know how you can do it. I just don't know.
So the idea of keeping your metabolism up.
Oh, that's absolute crap. Keeping your metabolism up by eating. Absolute garbage. And actually, carbs is the thing, lowers your metabolism. Takes nothing to break apart a carb. So protein and then fats take a lot of energy to break up. Remember I told you with the protein, 70% of the protein is used to fuel its own digestion. It takes a lot of energy to do it. Carbs, it's about 30%. Because there's nothing in a carb. That's the thing. But no, that is absolute crap. Eating all day long to keep your metabolism high. If you have a high metabolism, it's like a race car. What's it need? A lot of fuel. So if your metabolism is screaming, you're going to be eating more. Doesn't even make sense. I mean, you get suckered into this stuff because it sounds it sounds decent until you really sit and analyze and go, what the hell does this mean? What's the implications of it? Nobody does it. But if you have fast metabolism, Ferrari race car does in Formula One driving, gets 1.5 miles per gallon. That's a fast metabolism. You want to be eating 10 pounds of food a day? Have a fast metabolism. Nothing wrong with the metabolism. It's all what you're eating. Appreciate you coming. Please look at the book, and next time I come, you could say what it's done for you reading it. Thanks.